Welcome, everybody, colleagues, supporters, students, friends. Isn't it great that COVID isolation is over? What a trick. So many of you have attended Sketch to Screen before, and this panel is 14 years old, and most of you have heard my definition of costume design. But class, we're going to review. I have been told that I don't teach, I preach. So this is what I'd like to do. I'm going to say something, and you're going to repeat it. Are you ready? The role of the costume designer is to bring the people in the story to life. The role of the costume designer is to bring the people in the story to life. Costume design is not just about the clothes. Costume design is not just about the clothes. It's getting a little longer now. Okay, listen carefully. Costume is identity. Costume is identity. It is the external manifestation of a state of mind. It is the external manifestation of a state of mind. Textile and clothing have played an essential role in the human condition for millennia. Textile and clothing have played an essential role in the human condition for millennia. Are you going to remember this? Now that you said it, I hope you remember it. So here's the clarification, and here's my job to teach. My colleagues, these women, they're not crafts people. They are not artisans. They are neither costumers nor dressers. They are costume designers who read and interpret the text, then the script, and then discuss, argue, interrogate the story with their directors. It is Talmudic. Only after the reading, considering, discussing, contemplating, researching does the designing begin. Inspiration is found everywhere. Costume designers are artists who use clothing to manifest new personalities and to enable great performances. They need us, right? It's true that we love fabric. We do. We love color. We love cut. We love silhouette. And we love style. But our role, our responsibility, is so much more profound than that. It's going to be substance over style every single time, every film at a time. I know it's not quite right, but I have always thought of it this way. The writer gives the story to the director. The director gives the script to the costume designer. And the costume designer gives the clothes to the actor, and the actor gives that transformative performance to us, to the audience. I hope sincerely that everyone leaves here with a greater understanding of our value, and I didn't write this down, but why we should be paid more, and our contribution to every single production, to the language of cinema, and to the creation of popular culture. So, before I introduce our distinguished design panel, these Academy Award nominees for costume design, I'd like to show a 3-minute montage featuring their artistic contributions.
You say that you don't need me. You say let's take things slowly. I hope you realize you're playing with fire. I know what heartbreak feels like. I know I've shed some teardrops. I've been here before. You have done it now. Left me on the ground. This is it. I won't come back. If we don't stop, if we don't go, I'll be left alone hanging out when you go. Sitting by myself, going crazy like all the time. If we don't stop, if I don't go, I'll be left alone hanging out when you go. And I hope you realize, playing with the fire. Saying words ain't easy. I know you can't talk to me, but I hope you realize you're playing with fire. You were my one and only until you left me lonely. I guess you stopped to care. You have done it now. Left me on the ground. This is it. I won't come back. If we don't stop, if we don't go, I'll be left alone hanging out when you go. Sitting by myself, going crazy like all the time. If we don't stop, if I don't go, I'll be left alone hanging out when you go. And I hope you realize, playing with the fire. Like a different game, it's like I'm playing and you don't care. Starting new on my own, 'cause I don't need you. Hold me like a different game, it's like I'm playing, but you're so bad. Starting new on my own, someone just take me away. Ooh, hey, you're playing with the fire. Playing with the fire.
Will you please help me welcome Jenny Beavan, Ruth E. Carter, Shirley Kurata, Catherine Martin, and Mary with a Z, Mary Zophres. Are you all so relaxed? Yeah.
If it wasn't for my jumpsuit, I'd be a lot more relaxed.
You know, jumpsuits are very hard to go to the bathroom in.
Yeah,
Especially in a honey wagon.
It's a nightmare. I think I should know after designing so many that measurement, what is it, the crotch, it's the round, the girth measurement, which when you ask an actor, because we did some screen tests and everyone had to wear and I was phoning people asking them for their girth measurement, much hilarity ensued. Not that girth. But you'd be surprised how many actors are willing to give you that measurement.
I would have said that a jumpsuit would be a bad move for today. But
It was a bad move.
yeah. So you see, costume designers don't know everything. Just almost.
It's alcohol poisoning, Deborah.
So have you been out every night? Have you been out every night, everybody?
Almost, yeah.
But, it wasn't always like this, where the costume designers came to every party and were nominated. They were nominated, but they didn't have interviews, right? Jenny, so you designed Room with a View a very, very long time ago. So were people just after you to do interviews for Room with a View? Were you on the DVD, or I should say the VHS at the time? I mean...
No. I mean, in a word, I remember it quite well because we had actually been nominated for the Bostonians and not won the year before. So I remember coming here and there was a lovely lunch for costume designers. That's actually the only do pre-Oscars that I remember. And of course, there was no social media. There was no. You had to phone home to say, "I won." There was nothing out there, and it was just a completely different atmosphere. It was lovely, actually. I mean, I really enjoyed the moment, but now, unbelievable. The amount of press one's asked to do and keeping your Instagram up to speed and, trying to promote and all that. I mean, it's just another world.
And Jenny, who does your Instagram?
My sister, who we call my Insta-Waller. She is a very good graphic designer and understands technology. I write them and I choose the photos, but she does the montages. She bullies me. She corrects my spelling and punctuation. And... yes, my sister Hill, who's a bit of a star in our house.
Wonderful. Oh, okay. Ruth, same question. So when you were designing early on, Do the Right Thing, were people knocking down your door to cover you for Vogue? How's it changed? It's been such a ride.
I think people really didn't understand what costume designing was. And so it was a 6-month lead to get in a magazine. And half the time you didn't know what you were doing in the next 6 months, and so you couldn't advance any kind of process material to Vogue or any other magazine to be featured. And so I really didn't look for it, but working with Spike, he was a new filmmaker. The film itself was a protest film. We really didn't look to the mainstream for attention, and we kind of waited for Spike to go on Johnny Carson and talk about it, or to, announce that we were a part of his team. And we looked to him for our guidance with regard to what narrative was out in the public. So I really didn't feel like I needed it, and because we had accomplished our goal to make a film that had to do with race relationships in New York.
Catherine, can we talk about Strictly Ballroom?
Yes. Of course, in terms of Swarovski crystals, I've come a long way. Because on Strictly Ballroom, we had to pick the crystals off one costume to stick them on another, because we didn't have enough and they were so expensive. And now there has been a plethora of Swarovski crystals, and most of them, although we still did run into a bit of a snafu with Hank Snow's costume. So I did stick on crystals myself. In fact, everybody in the department, including people who just happened to be walking by, stuck crystals on. But yeah, so... wow, it was an incredible adventure, and I've had the great luck and pleasure to work with someone Baz Luhrmann, who is obsessed with costume, and costume is at the centre of his work. And he's a very generous collaborator, not only with costume, but this is about costume. He cares about sometimes too much, because it can be annoying. But he will obsess about every detail of a costume, the button. He always talks about you know, how important buttons are, because 30% of a movie is a close-up, and that's all you see is the button, really, and the collar, this above the waist, and he becomes crazy about it. So I've had the great pleasure of having someone who loves what we all do, really admires it and talks about it and enjoys it, and he loves what you guys all do, and loves your movies, loves going to the movies, loves seeing our work, and really appreciates what we do. So I'm lucky in that respect.
See, my follow-up question was, since he's your partner, are you married?
Yes.
Since you're married, does he just let you do anything you want?
Absolutely not. I'm under closer scrutiny than anybody else. I always think, couldn't I just catch a little breath of air? Just let me. But no, because, you know, I think that after you have a very long working relationship over 30 years, you start, I think, sometimes he thinks I'm him. Do you know that I'm just like an extension
what?
in a way?
He thinks you're
he holds himself to a very high standard, and as a result holds me to that same high standard, unfortunately. I'd like sometimes to be able to goof off, but never able to goof. Always have to pay attention.
So, Mary, I wanted to ask you about Fargo, right? So if you're contrasting an all-singing, all-dancing Babylon with something quiet like Fargo, where you disappear, you're meant to disappear, how is that a different production process for you, or is it?
I don't think it's different. You're using different color and different textiles, but you're still interpreting the script and telling the story through costume. So it was smaller. Fargo was smaller and had less money. We had $30,000. And I shopped. Where I shopped was different, and where we filmed was different, but the crux of the work is exactly the same.
And how are the directors different? Because that was the Coen brothers, and this was Damien Chazelle.
Correct. They're both, and I'm going to talk about the Coens as a unit because they're very different people, but they direct together. I consider both of them auteurs, and they both wrote these screenplays and knew them thoroughly, and working with someone who has written the script is slightly different than not having written the script, although a lot of directors work with it so much that they inhabit it and it becomes their own. But they know the story so intuitively and so thoroughly that they can pretty much answer any question, and they have the whole thing in their head. And those two directors, or the Coens and Damien Chazelle, have that in common, where they have, you feel like you can ask any question, and they'll know the answer, and the intent and the meaning behind every scene it's very clear. And also both screenplays, it's very clear in both of those screenplays. So,
you know, it's a funny thing that when I teach, I always say that the director is the answerer in chief. They have to have the answers. They have to have done the research. They have to know what they want. It's so much easier if they actually know what they want. Can I ask you a follow-up question about, I'm just going to say Dumb and Dumber? Mm-hmm. Because each of these artists have careers that span the length and breadth. We haven't even gotten to Mad Max Fury Road yet. But they have huge careers, and it's kind of like a seesaw in many ways. So when you were working on Dumb and Dumber, did anybody ask you about the clothes?
You mean after the movie was out?
Yeah. Were they selling those clothes at Kmart?
First of all, that was my second movie,
yeah.
And I was lucky to have the job. And but the tuxedos were they became quite a thing, and And I remember some, like, weirdly, like, where, like a phone call, like, where did you get those? And can we get more? And it might have, I don't know if it was from New Line, which was the studio that did it, or, but that was it. I mean, and the dog costume. There was like a in the round dog costume that I made for that film. And, you know, again, like the same thing, you know, in the costume truck, sewing with the fur going everywhere. And, but yeah, I mean, no, I mean, we were talking about this earlier, like the difference between then and now is huge.
So Shirley, I have seen a million interviews with you about everywhere.
Yes.
What's it? What is it called? It's called
Everything, everywhere, all
Everything,
at once.
Everywhere.
Yes.
Right. Everything, everywhere, all at once, just like this panel.
Yes.
But you have had a career in fashion and styling. How did you come to costume design?
Well, I mean, I started as a costumer, and I worked for many years just learning the trade on whatever low budget TV or film that I could get my hands on. I started off by interning and then just, for many years worked as a set costumer, and then eventually, though, I kind of got steered more towards like the styling world of like music videos, fashion shoots, commercials, and was kind of in that world for many, many years, and kind of missed the sort of sense of family that you get working on films. So I kind of really wanted to get back into it, but I wanted to find a movie that like really spoke out to me and really meant something to me. There's a lot of scripts out there, and they're not always that great. So I think that it's really important to find one that like speaks to you, because it is a lot of it's a lot of your time, and it's hard work. So if you're gonna invest in months of hard work, you should really stand behind it. So
How did this movie come about?
I got the I was able to have a meeting with the Daniels through producer Jonathan Wong, because I worked on some commercials with another director that Jonathan was a producer for. And the Daniels were looking for a costume designer for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Jonathan was like, I have the perfect person for you. And so he made the introduction.
And you were very lucky.
Yes, I was very, 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 very lucky.
And
Right.
and he was
Like
right.
when
that's
you
right.
look, I said to, just looking at the number of costume changes that are in that movie, it's incredible. The quick cuts, just to see, I mean, you did an amazing job.
Thank
and
you.
I'm
Thank you
sure-
so much.
I'm sure it was not easy, and you had no money, and it was crazy.
Yes.
Just think of that editorial. I'd love to know how many costumes there were actually in that movie. It's hundreds.
Yeah, it's
maybe thousands.
Yes, I couldn't imagine. When I saw the movie, I thought, how did you break this down?
It was so difficult to break down. It was like one of the hardest scripts to break down, and it honestly, the only way I could break it down was just dividing it by worlds. It didn't make sense to break it down in the normal way you would break down a script, which is like a day breakdown and by scenes, because it jumped so much that it was just like, I'm just going to break it down by the world, and they're going to be wearing this one outfit in the world, and then, it's like kind of breaking it down like mini movies. Yeah.
That makes sense, because I was going to say, Stephanie Chu, her costume is the villain. How many did she have? I mean, I don't even know how many Michelle Yeoh had.
I would say it was probably about I think she had about 27, and then Michelle had somewhere in the close to 40. I don't know. We scripted, we broke down more costumes, but some got cut, some we never saw, so I'm not sure anymore what the final tally was.
And I did want to ask you, I mean, I know that in comedy, it's a lie when it looks improvised. We really can't do too much improvisation when we make movies, right?
Yes.
How much did you improvise those costumes?
I think quite a bit, you know what I mean, in a sense that because there was no, like, for some scenes there was like a direction given, like, you know, she enters an Elvis suit. But others, it was sort of, there was no direction, so I was able to just go, you know, put together looks and go, oh, this seems like a fun look, you know, let's make her a goth anime character, and then let's like have her switch to, you know, I've got this like Jeremy Scott Adidas teddy bear jacket, you know, this would be great to, you know, for like a K-pop look. So there were some improvised looks that I just felt like it would be fun, and you could definitely see the switch of her looks within the scenes.
I'm just going to switch to my favorite question. Jenny, what was the worst moment on the movie?
I do need to work again, Deborah. I still have 3 years of a mortgage and several people I look after, and I have been very careful all my life
here.
not to
Are there any
divulge.
studio people in the room? There are no studio people.
However, the wonderful Lauren Rehani is here, sitting at the back, and she and I did have to take to smoking again on that movie. I'm really not addicted, it's fine, but we used to go on her balcony and have a quick fag and a glass of bread, and oh my God, it was really tough. Partly doing it in Budapest in the middle of COVID, in Hungarian, which is about the most difficult language on earth. And a lot of the crew did not speak English. Russian is their second language. So, I mean, but honestly, there were some joyous moments as well. I don't want you to think, you know, in any way. We had an entirely miserable time. In fact, we had lots of moments of joy, and Leslie Manville was utterly the centre of that joy.
I really didn't want to hear about the joy.
Sorry.
I just wanted to hear about the misery.
Well, it was wet, cold. We were, you know, extremely low budget, so catering was dodgy. Availability of honey wagons, non-existent. We did have a perfectly good costume truck, though, didn't we? Which we, of course, you know, and it was DIY, just like your moving sequence, you know. We were all painting and doing whatever. But no, it was really tough. Although it doesn't look it looks quite, you know, easy.
It looks good.
And also, I mean, recreating Dior, I have to tell you, I was lied to by the director Anne Ferris that I would be working alongside Dior and Dior would be doing all the Dior bits. And I went to the archives, which was amazing. I realised they have very little. If I thought about it, of course. But I don't know much about haute couture. So anyway, went to the archives, realised they don't have a lot. You'd never be able to use it. But we ended up sitting around the table, the Dior lot on one side, our lot on the other. And it was a silence, so I thought, oh, I better, you know, say something. Thank you so much for this wonderful afternoon. I've learnt so much. It's absolutely amazing. And how wonderful that we'll be working alongside each other and you'll be doing the Dior clothes. And the 4 horrified faces looked up and just went, non. And obviously, suddenly there I was, which was not in the game plan, recreating Dior. So anyway. Wow. And they endorsed it. So we must have been all right.
What?
They endorsed it. I mean, they had to say it was okay. So we must have done something right.
All right. When I hear a story like that, I think, don't they know that you designed Mad Max Fury Road? I mean, that was like my favorite movie of that year. And I love this idea, and I hope the audience does too. I love it that it's from Mad Max Fury Road with all that dirt and all that craziness to Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris.
But it's storytelling, like everyone's sort of said.
Yeah.
All we're doing is telling stories. So it doesn't really matter whether it's post-apocalyptic or Jane Austen or, you know, you just adapt your mind, and that's the fun of the job, is that every job is different. And, I mean, I've even got 2 possible things coming up, both of which I've never done before, at my stage. So, it's still exciting and fun.
Okay, don't promote it too heavily. There are students in the audience.
Oh, honestly, well, good luck.
Ruth, what was the worst moment in Wakanda?
I have a joke that I tell about if anyone calls me again and they mention that things will be underwater, hang up. So, 20-foot tank on the lot at Tyler Perry Studios in Atlanta, and every time I drove by that stage, I could hear it roar at me, and I ran. But putting costumes in water, there has to be chemicals in that water. Whether it's whatever it is, it fades fabric. You would like to think that costumes do this beautiful, silk does this beautiful thing when you put it in water, but really it just does that. And that's until you weight it and you tether it and you test it. The Jabari tribe that wore fur pelts and grass skirts were going to dive into this tank and save someone's life. I felt they needed to save their own life because they were going to float like a log. And they did until we just figured it out. But that water tank was the death of me.
I'm so sorry. You have my condolences.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So Shirley, what was the worst moment in Everywhere?
I mean, honestly, well, I think, because I didn't have a budget to get, multiples for every character, for every scene, I asked the Daniels, okay, I love this outfit. I don't have doubles. Is that okay? Because I don't know how long we'll see this, see this character in it for, and so they assured me, don't worry, it's fine. We could work with one. Which, of course, then when we're shooting, they're like, oh, you know what? I think we need to dress the stunt double in a double.
Shirley, if that ever happens again, I want you to call Mary or Catherine or Ruth, now that you know them all, or Jenny or me, right? Don't believe those directors.
I know. Now I know.
Liars.
The liars, they're liars.
Yes.
They're such liars. Don't do that again. All right.
And also the stunt double, the actual actor's 5'2" and weighs 90 pounds, and the stunt double is 6'7" and weighs 250 pounds. And you look at them and you go, I know you're the stunt coordinator, this is your profession, but I need to show you the person you're doubling. How can this work? No, like they just lie.
They do.
They lie.
And they don't care.
They don't. So what happened, Shirley? We feel so bad for you.
Well, I mean, we just made sure to try to shoot as much with our hero or with our actor, and then had to just do a little switch, when she was done to the stunt double. But yeah. We made it work, but...
Okay, next time, 911 costume design.
Yes, I know.
Right. Catherine, what was the absolute worst moment on Elvis?
Telling people we were shutting down because of force majeure for COVID. So I was a producer too on the movie, and what happened was that Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson got COVID, and they were doing a huge scene with rehearsing Elvis going through the crowd with Tom. And so Patrick and I, who were the only ones not on set at the time, Patrick kept calling me, and I was trying to do something in wardrobe, and I was trying to concentrate. I don't think people think that you actually do that. like you actually have to think when you're designing. You know, there's like a process and you have to get into the mood and you have to have I have to have a quiet room and I actually have to think about what I'm doing without people asking me questions or just random, things. And he kept trying to call me and I just kept saying, pressing that, I'll call you later. Anyway, I finally saw his face coming through the window near my office, like totally hysterical, and they were both sick. And Baz wasn't able to tell the cast and crew in person because he was in quarantine. So he was basically taken off the set and in quarantine for 14 days. And so that was horrible because we got so close. We were actually a day away from shooting. Can you believe it? So that was horrible. But look, every day is a litany of horrors, I think, on films. I mean, I just feel happy if nothing falls apart, if no one complains, if I'm not called to set for shoes. Shoes seem to be, it doesn't matter how many times you have a fitting, it doesn't matter how many times you talk about it, shoes are always a problem. Because especially when people dance or move, the pair of shoes they've been wearing for 6 months rehearsing in will explode 30 seconds before they have to wear them. And you think, how is that even possible? Or I wear a number of hats. So in set design, it's pens. Anything that requires signing a document never works. And you just go, hang on, this is a ballpoint pen. I have a packet of them. The world over runs on ballpoint pens. Why is it that when this particular person takes the pen and it goes to sign the check, it doesn't work? No ink comes out. And you think, this isn't possible. You give it to somebody else. You try. Perfect. And you think, how is... There is, gremlins, but yes, I think that you just got to expect it's not going to go well. Low expectations is a very important part of this career path. Lower your expectation, you'll have a great time.
That's really what I was looking for students.
What?
Lower your expectations.
Because I think if you don't actually like what you do and get pleasure out of what you do, I am totally for us all getting paid equitably. We should all be paid the same amount of money as in art direction. I'm going to tell you a secret. Costume takes up so much more of my time when I work. It's just much more labour intensive. It's the human factor. You have to be in the room. Nothing replaces you. You can have the best assistants. I have the best team, but you actually have to show up every day. Whereas I'm not saying set design or production design isn't hard work and doesn't require a lot of focus, but it's an empirical science. You can draw something, there are measurements, you can give Pantone colours to people and they can build it. But there's an alchemy between an actor, a piece of fabric, a story, an idea, a dressing room that just can't be managed. It can't be off-boarded. I don't know if any of you agree with that.
We're all with you.
Yeah.
And also, your team needs you. So if you're dressing people from 3 a.m. And you've got 450 people, like I might not come at 3 a.m. because people are still having breakfast, but I'll come at 4:30 because I think that by that point, all the wheels are starting to fall off the cart. No one can find anything. Everything's gone horribly wrong. People are crying. And then you have to show up, So it's hours. I think that's what you see. All these incredible designers. You see the hours and hours of just work. If you look at Wakanda, just think of every one of those, the technology in those suits, the detail, the fittings, the making sure they can actually work. Which is just like, because it's not just standing there, it has to look great, but it also has to be able to do everything it needs to do for the stunts and stuff. So, yeah, we all deserve to get paid the same.
Okay, Mary, what was absolutely the worst moment on Babylon?
I had this entire, wonderful explanation by each of these fantastically talented people up here to think of it, and I don't have.
Mary.
It's so lame.
Mary.
What?
I'm never going to ask you here again.
I know. Every day was
a
horrible.
dream.
Every day was like, oh my God, and a huge challenge. But so I can't even remember one single thing. It's so lame.
Are you trying to tell us it was horrible every day?
No, it wasn't horrible. It was just hard every day. And it was like, oh my God, here we go. And but it wasn't. There was never a day where it's like, oh, we have one scene to shoot, and it's 2 people in a room. Even when that happened, we were doing second unit, and there was 100 people, and with shoes breaking and and hot and yeah.
Well,
So
were you shooting it all during COVID?
all during COVID. Part of it was during the Delta height. Part of it, and a lot of it was during the summer, which if you're on a period film, that's when everything melts and disintegrates because it's so hot. We were in sometimes 100-degree weather, and Damien Chazelle, who was our director, wanted it to be very. We were constantly shooting at the border of the zone, so we were because he want a lot of the scenes where you could shoot with 360 and you couldn't see anything in terms of buildings, or so we were in the middle of nowhere. So it was very far. If something went wrong, it was 2 hours to get it there, and so every day was a challenge on Babylon in the most wonderful way. I loved doing that movie, but it was kind of brutal every day. And
On Babylon, because it was so huge, did you have a lot of pre-production time?
no, we had 12 weeks. 12 weeks. That was it. I mean, we'd pushed, so we had months to think about it, but thinking without the money is a lot different than having, the bank account or the EP card to use. So, yeah, you could think about it all you wanted, but until you could actually start and start to pay for things. Yeah, 12 weeks wasn't enough.
No, not by half. I have one more question.
And I had to fight for that 12 weeks, by the way.
Did you?
I kept on trying to make it 10.
Now, there you
That's
go.
impossible.
Impossible. What did they expect?
They just wanted to save money because the budget was shrinking.
But you really have to wonder. Everybody has the same screenplay. And there are demands on the screenplay. It was a period film, took place in the 20s. The numbers were there, right? How did they expect you to do it?
I don't think there was any realistic expectation. It was just that the budget was 70 million, but it was 60 million because Damien's budget had to absorb the COVID costs. So how can you take 60 million with all the different departments that need money and make it work? So if you eliminate 2 weeks of prep, that saves a chunk of money. So it was just an effort to save money. And it was always all the Zooms, because you were Zooming then. How can we save money? Can we reduce your prep? And that's what I'm saying. I wanted more, but I was I cannot, without a crew, be on for less than 12 weeks.
So I have a kind of a last question before we open it up to the audience. Every successful woman needs a wife, right? Do we agree? Yeah. Every woman needs a wife. So who helps you in your life that you should thank?
Me?
You, Mary.
My husband, Murray, and we have a son, and so we take turns. He's also does something else, but he's in the entertainment business, and so when I'm working, he tries to be off and sort of hold the reins, and when he's working, I'm the one that does that. So we take turns, and without that partnership, it would be impossible because we don't have a team of we have one son. I don't, that's all I could handle with these hours. I can't do any more than that. I know people have more, but for me, that was it. But it's a team. We work as a team, and I couldn't do it without him. And we do have one good babysitter too. She's great.
Catherine, who makes your life work?
I have one of my dearest friends has worked with me for 25 years, and she is my wife. And she is just an extraordinary person who just helps me at home with the kids. And what's wonderful about her is she shares the same values, the same value structure, so I can count on her to make great decisions and say no to the children. Who, when you get the wrong answer from your parent, you're always looking for somebody else, aren't you, to say yes. And I also have an incredible family at work, someone who's here today, Chris Tangy, who has sat beside me for, over 15, 18 years and puts up with me every day at work and, carries the baton when I'm not there. So I'm very lucky. So Mary Jane Coy, Chris Tangy, very lucky to be surrounded by supportive people.
Yes, these are the people who help our success. What about it, Shirley?
Well, it would have to be my husband, Charlie. We own a store together. I let him pretty much handle most of it, and he does most of the cooking. And I think just is always just there emotionally for me. So I would credit him and then our 2 cats because they're our emotional support. Yes. And we don't have children. I kudos to the women that are juggling both a career and children. I don't think I could be able to do that. So
it's probably just stupidity.
Yes. Shirley, what's the name of the store?
It's called Virgil Normal.
What is it?
Virgil Normal.
Virgil Normal.
So it's across streets. Yes.
Okay, Virgil and Normal.
Yes.
Thank you. We will all be going.
Please do.
Ruth, who makes your life work?
Beyond my partner, Larry, I have a life coach who has shown me that 45 minutes of your day in the morning is worth the whole week of being creative and dealing with people. And I have we've explored like yoga and stretching, and sometimes we do weights in the morning. It helps me like clear my head and get ready for all that's about to come at me. And sometimes I can call her and she will have me sit on the floor, and I might be doing some kind of thing like this for 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden I feel really great. She's taught me how to give something back to myself for 45 minutes just to clear the channel to receive and to also be creative in this high stress world and environment. But Larry's also my house husband. He loves to clean up and do the dishes, and I'm not mad at that.
Yes. Could we have his number too? Jenny, who makes your life work?
My daughter Caitlin. The best thing I ever did. And gosh, as it was a struggle, the juggle. Also, I was the wage earner when she was born, and we got a wonderful nanny from Liverpool, good part of the England, up north, and so she was a sort of rock in the family. And Caitlin Zuleika Albury Bevan is currently in Belfast, wrangling a film as a co-producer and looking after Pierce Brosnan, and they have bonded. It's very nice. On a very, very low budget, but sounds rather wonderful film. So she was in theatre, and now she's in film. But the best thing she ever did was go to Manchester University, where she met the most extraordinary group of young people, many of whom live in my house, which is a bit of an upmarket student encampment, and everyone would be deeply welcome if you come to London. Deborah's been, actually. So I'm surrounded by young, not so young now, but they are young people, and it keeps me definitely
and
very young.
We really need them, right? All right, I'm ready for questions for the audience. Yes, you're the first hand up, so go for it.
I'm Mandy Line. I'm a costume designer. Hi, everybody. Awesome. Thank you. Hi, Mandy. First of all, congratulations to everyone up there. I am blessed to have spoken to most of you. I just wanted to state something about Shirley. She may be in fashion and styling, but she has been in this business for so long. Actually, she was my set girl on a show, and she had to go somewhere, and she said, Mandy, please watch my kit. My aging kit is here. We were on Sunset Boulevard. The next day, she goes, oh, Mandy, can we, I need my kit back. And I said, oh, God. I left her kit on Sunset Boulevard because she left it with the costume designer, and when I left, I was just like, oh, okay, bye. I just wanted to say congratulations to you because you have been doing this so long.
Wait, what about the kit?
Oh,
where's the kit?
I think I paid her back later on or something for that. I remember apologizing. Oh, where's the kit? But just to prove she has been doing this so long.
Yeah.
And yes, she is lucky to be with this caliber of designers, but she's been doing this for as long as me, and God knows that's been forever. So congratulations to each of you, but I just wanted to
Thank you,
Mandy.
Thank you, Mandy. All right, next brave soul. Question. Yes, Phil.
I've just always wanted to ask this question now that Catherine's here.
Okay.
So my question is my name is Philip. I'm a costume illustrator. So I've had the benefit of being able to work with some of the ladies up here, and when I tell you how hard they work, like as an illustrator, you sit and you hear everything, right? You got your headphones in, it's in the dark, but you see the entire department, and I know how hard they work. So I have to ask Catherine specifically, how in the holy hell do you production design and costume design at the same time? I have to ask that question.
Thanks, Phil.
Yeah.
Well, we don't get more money, right? But I get to have a longer prep because I'm usually not being paid to do it, of course, family business and all. But I'm usually part of the script, process. Like Basil set a bunch of research tasks that kind of visually help inform the show. So time is on my side, and then I'm just stupid. And, there's a long time between drinks, with us. So I have time to forget the pain. And every time I come off a show, I go, right, next time I'm going to do it like this. And I'm not going to let them not give me an assistant. I'm going to have an assistant from the get-go. And I'm going to tell everyone, and I have all this completely out the window.
Okay, you sound like you need an agent or a divorce.
Look, I probably need both. I'm my own worst enemy. But look, my job has brought me so much pleasure. And what I do, I think of as more of I don't want to sound kind of, proselytizing, but it's more of a vocation than a job. Because if I actually amortized every hour I'd ever worked on anything I'd ever done, I don't know, maybe I've made $1.50 an hour. Do you know what I mean? So it's not really worth it. Someone asked me, I did another talk at my old alma mater in Australia, and they said to me, oh, how do you get to have big jobs and da-da-da? And I said, well, dude, you're looking at the wrong person. I'm going to give the worst career advice because basically I just love what I do, and even though it's horrible sometimes, it really gives me purpose to wake up in the morning and such pleasure when something actually works out, and I just think as students, obviously, I don't want you to be exploited or not have a living wage or not have somewhere to live or whatever, but you're always going to do more hours than you get paid to do. And I just think you've got to love it. And I think just, as Ruth said, she's taking care of herself and making sure she isn't the absolutely last person in the queue. Because I think with a costume designer, you can end up being, a counsellor, a psychologist, a caterer. You fulfill all of those sort of functions. You tend to be a support person, and I just think, make sure you don't let yourself go down, but you just have to accept, I think, if you're going to be in this business, you don't want to be exploited, but you got to love it because it's going to be tough. And yes, I think, I just forget, like on this movie, I just forgot that it was going to be over 3 decades. And sometimes on the big crowd days, I just felt like Indiana Jones with this giant rolling ball just coming for me and just thinking, how many people, how are we going to clothe them all? It's going to be hard, but you just do it. But yes, stupidity.
I mean, the terrible news is we probably all started working for free, right? And
Absolutely.
that we would work for free. I mean, Mary, you worked in your parents' shop in Florida for free.
Yeah, but I also worked on my first film for free, too. Yep. I don't think you can do that anymore, which is good. No, you shouldn't.
You shouldn't do that. I totally agree. I'm just saying that the pleasure, in order to actually get something out of it, you have to, if you're only doing it to get paid, you're going to be pretty disappointed.
Yes,
It's not enough.
You should be a stockbroker.
Pick another job.
Yeah.
Can I have another question? Yes, back there.
Deborah, I loved your question. What was your worst day to everyone else? Excuse me, everyone else. What was your worst day on a film that you worked on?
Oh, no, I'm not playing that game. This is really not about me. I'm really sorry. I'll see you after class. So what was your question?
Hi, my name is Ashlyn Thompson. I'm a local 705 women's finish costumer. I just wanted to say you all are such an inspiration. I've seen and researched all of your movies. And I just want to ask, Ms. Zophres, you touched on, production really pressing you for time and having a limited budget. I just want to know how you deal, all of you, I know you've all dealt with that. How do you deal with all of those obstacles while still maintaining your creative integrity and vision?
You prioritize what you need to spend your money on and save where you can maybe get away with spending less. And, knowing how to sew always helps, which came up a few times on this movie. And just knowing how to allocate your resources, I think, is one of the most important things. Like, you don't blow your wad in one spot. Kind of spread around and know what your priorities are and spend, when you know that you have to spend the money, that's where you do it and save where you can. And
I think knowing your resources, there's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say, and you don't always have to go in one direction to accomplish things. I mean, we made a Maasai headdress out of a Pier 1 Imports placemat. So know your resource. Find other ways of accomplishing your dream or the aesthetic. I find that you can really get some wonderful things out of layering and the vision of painting something or putting it together in a unique way, and then it really becomes all yours. So let that challenge continue. Don't let the cutting of the budget cut the idea or your dream. Find other ways of accomplishing it.
sometimes actually having limited resources, you come up with your best ideas, right? I'm sure you've all experienced that. It's a weird, like all of a sudden you're like, oh, right? And like you come up with this amazing...
Yes, but Mary, we don't want to tell them that. We would like to keep that a secret, right?
I think sometimes repeating yourself over and over again helps too. Like there comes a point where if there are, there is a point at which if there's an expectation of a kind of look and there is a resource, you have to make sure that everyone understands what's possible. Do you know what I mean? There'll come a point where at a certain point on a certain scale of movie, it's impossible to do it,
Look at Dior. I mean, this was Dior
Well,
on a
I
thread.
have to say, after the little incident round the table in the archives, with 2 producers and a director on my left, which I carefully didn't look at, I said to them across the table, I said, well, you know, I can do it. I know the people who understand Dior and can make it, but it will cost a lot of money. And I just thought if I got it out there, then it would be understood, because you have to do it to a standard. You cannot recreate Dior without people who thoroughly understand. And fabric, it has to be of a certain quality to get the sculptural and all that stuff. So that was my... I think we made Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris on $1.5 million.
That's
the whole
incredible.
film, which is probably less than, I don't know, your catering
Please
budget
don't
on, you know. I mean, it was challenging, but I have made the point, I think, also that I think we were all severely challenged in the COVID times. I mean, you know, of course we were doing it in masks. And have you ever tried doing up buttons in surgical gloves? You know, it was the whole thing, but I think that applies to all of us, doing it in masks and Zooming and quarantine and actors being cast in blooming Paris and quarantine coming in and, you know.
We have two more questions. Yes?
Hi, my name is Danielle. I'm a second-year costume design student here at UCLA School of Theater, Film, and Television. You all are an inspiration to me. I wanted to ask, you all are so successful in your field of costume design. How did you break into the industry and start working with film and television?
Okay, that's a quick one. All right, in 25 words or less, Miss Beavan.
Okay, I wanted to be a set designer. I had no interest particularly in costume. I was well taught at college, but I really wanted to create the worlds and theatre. In fact, the smell of, you know, size paint still does for me. But I got trapped into it by Merchant Ivory because I knew someone who knew someone who knew someone, and they just adopted me as part of the Merchant Ivory family. Jenny, you will do it, Ismail used to say in his. And so Jenny did it.
Okay, Miss Ruth.
Yeah, I was in theater too, and one morning, very early before the sun came up, I got a call, and the person said, Ruth. I said, hello? Ruth. Hello? Ruth, this is the man of your dreams. I said, Denzel? They're like, no, this is Spike. And I'd like you to do my first studio film, School Days. And I went to work, and I probably worked 6 months on that script without knowing I was supposed to get paid, without even being, you know, signed up with the crew or anything, just in my apartment in Koreatown, just breaking it down and drawing the characters and really being excited about, he's going to call me back one of these days. And then I went to Brooklyn and to his company, 40 Acres and a Mule, and began the process of making his first studio film and my first movie.
Thank you. Miss Shirley.
I mean, I think I already kind of talked about it, but it was, for me, I had to just start off learning the trade, and you know, I think the opportunities kind of came a little bit later for me. So I'm still kind of, I think, at the early stages of costume design and film for me. But yeah.
Thank you, Catherine.
I think going to school for design was just instrumental in eventually becoming part of, you know, the Basmark empire. But to me, education and that fabulous ability that you all have right now to actually get to learn about things in an environment where you have freedom from a lot of the things that will beset you in your professional career. So I would say really enjoy being a student, because it's an absolutely fabulous place to be, even if it seems really hard right now. But I would say I could never replace going to school. Everybody gets to where they want to go in their own way. But for me, education in a kind of structured situation like yours was very important.
Thank you. Mary?
For me, the first thing was like I love movies, and so that's sort of what got me into wanting to work on them. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and then I started out at, like I said a minute ago, like embarrassingly enough, I did start out working for free because that's what I was told. Like it was sort of a more like it was just a harder business to break into back in the old days, because I'm old, and then I started out as a PA and just worked my way up, and then I learned by each step, as working with different designers and assisting different people, and I was discouraged to go to grad school by one of my mentors. He said, "Work for me, and you'll get paid instead of going to school for it." And I don't know if that was the right thing, because I had applied and I'd gotten in to grad school, but I chose to work with him, and that was a choice I made. I'm not saying it's the right one, but I think you absorb like a sponge no matter where you are, and take advantage of the people that are, that you have around you. You can learn from everyone and everything, regardless whether it's a teacher or fellow people, and you're just looking at how people dress, and you're just constantly absorbing. Even as old, I'm older, and I feel like I'm constantly in that state of learning, and that to me is a really open, great place to be. And and it's hard work, like we said earlier. And
I do want to say that Mary has come many times to teach classes here at UCLA, and Ruth was a designer in residence. So, and is Deborah Scott here right now? Where is she? So, Deborah Scott, who is the designer of Avatar: The Way of Water, will be our 2023 designer in residence here at school. So we're very lucky to have, we're very privileged to have the best of the best coming to teach our students at UCLA. Last question, where are you? Stand up, and it's got to be a quick one.
Hi, my name is Melissa Alvarez. I work in costume production for entertainment at Disneyland. Deborah, you started this panel by saying that your mother never really understood what you did, and I think that's something a lot of us in the industry feel. So what do you all find are some of the biggest misconceptions of being a costume designer?
Okay, one sentence.
The biggest misconception is that it's a glamorous profession.
My mom came to see a theater production that I was a part of, and I had to do the cast laundry afterwards, and she was waiting for me to drive her home, and she said, you went to 4 years of college to do laundry? I said, no, Mother, this is costume design.
Shirley?
I mean, I'm going to second Jenny. It is definitely not a glamorous job. It has its moments, but a lot of moments of doing laundry or, finding missing sequins on the ground. And
you do spend a lot of time on the floor.
Yes.
It is true. Catherine?
That there's a shop for everything.
Aha!
Like people think that you just go to Elvis shop or Babylon shop or Everything Everywhere All at Once shop or Wakanda shop or the Jaw shop.
In your dreams,
and
love.
You go, actually there is no shop.
As Mrs. Harris found out.
Thanks, Catherine. Mary?
yes, being last now, those are my two. People have asked where did you get the clothes for Babylon? And like as if you can go to a store and buy them, or or I guess they assume that you can rent everything. So yeah, it's that there are resources that already have produced the clothing that you're going to use in your film, and that you're just like pointing and someone else is doing all the work, which is never the case. It's like the dirtiest you'll ever be is on the set of like when you're costume designing. You're filthy all the time.
And I will add to that, because during the big dance number for Coming to America, the president of Paramount came to see the set, and he came over to me and said, "These costumes are great. Where'd you get them?" Oh. So with that, ladies and gentlemen,